Hello, hello, hello. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Yeah. Hey, hey, hey. Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Welcome to the Deliberate Millionaire Stream. Woo! I'm Rosemary Nonny. I am the prosperity minister and business coach to ambitious spiritual people who are determined to thrive, to prosper, to make at least six figures whilst living in their purpose. I help you leave behind the pain, the limiting beliefs of the past, and rise victorious in your true design life. Your true design life is one of freedom, fulfillment, a financially abundant life, and a love-drenched life. Now, this is the thing. Sometimes you get stuck, or sometimes people get stuck in toxic relationships. People get stuck in toxic relationships, and actually, the result that this whole live stream actually is based on the fact that somebody asked the question what that I should say some things about what to do when stuck in a dead end relationship that people can't see, that the person might not be able to see is toxic, but they're caught up in believing that they're in love. Okay, and what to do about it. So I thought, you know what, that sounds like a really good topic to actually look at. Why? Because when I start working with a lot with people, one of the biggest areas that gets in the way of them creating the life that they actually want is relationships, particularly the most intimate of relationships, the one you have with a partner. Okay. And sometimes people stop realizing that there's a difference between real love and kind of an attached, energy draining, so called love, which isn't really love at all. But we get used to accepting nonsense as the real thing. I'm going to look at some of the signs of it so that, hey, you can start to pay attention to whether this is something that you're falling foul of. And then also some ideas, some considerations around what to do to get rid of it and why you might be staying stuck in such a situation when really it's not even empowering you. It's draining you, and you can feel it. You can feel that being in this relationship is not working well for you, but then people get kind of trapped and stuck there. Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? We're going to start with our affirmation for this week. Actually, our new affirmation is I am, what is it? I am, oh my gosh, I've forgotten the word now. What is the affirmation? I am home. Yes, I am home in you. And this is you speaking to the divine. I am home in you. I am home in you. I return to my source. I am complete in you. And this affirmation particularly applies to what we're talking about today about toxic relationships, because when you do not feel at home with the divine, when you have in some ways felt or you've abandoned or you feel abandoned by the divine, then you start looking for the people in your life to stand in the gap for you, except they can't. Okay, they can't stand in the gap for you. And so therefore you start trying to get, this is where there's a difference between real love and attached, this attachment thing, and it's codependency really, where you are trying to get your needs met from the people in your life. So you're trying to get energy from people who have a limited energy store themselves. And so you're each trying to work with this limited amount of energy instead of connecting to the divine, allowing yourself to be loved, finding your home in the divine. And then out of that abundance of love that is now available to you, sharing it with somebody else, particularly in the case of a personal, intimate relationship, sharing it with somebody else. And that becomes more empowering than when the both of you are trying to get energy from each other and are not connected to the divine. So we're going to sing this affirmation as an affirmation that you are choosing to find your home in the divine rather than in another person. Okay. Yeah, rather than another person. So let's start. This is the affirmation for this week. Okay. I am home in you. I am home in you. I return to my source. I'm complete in you. I am home in you. I am home in you. I return to my source. I'm complete in you. So that's the affirmation for this week. I am home in you. Hey, Procom. I am home in you. I return to my source. I'm completing you. And really getting to know this will be one of the first steps of letting go of a toxic relationship that isn't supporting you in moving forward. Okay. And not, please don't take any of what I'm saying here immediately as some kind of sign that you're immediately supposed to run away from any relationship that you're in, because sometimes you are just not ready to do that. Okay. And this isn't about self judgment. This isn't about self, yeah, it's shooting on yourself. I should not be here. I should not be in this relationship. I should not know. It's not about that, because you cannot force your inner feminine, whether you're male or whether you're a man or a woman. You have feminine energy, you have masculine energy. And usually it's the feminine energy that has felt distant from your connection with the divine. And so you start looking for that feminine energy within you, is looking for connection with somebody else out there. And that somebody else obviously is not going to have the energy you're looking for, but you are attached to it. So you cannot, the masculine part of you will be trying to force you out of that relationship. And especially if you listen to what I'm saying and it feels like the relationship you're in, but your feminine side is not ready yet. So your masculine side has to gently, lovingly help the feminine to let go and redirect the feminine to finding her home within the divine. Okay. As Procom says here, I'm home in you, Lord. Yes. Whatever you call your higher power, you need to know that your safety, your security, your source, your energy is found in your connection with your higher power. That's where you need to find the energy, the love you're looking for first, and then distribute, I don't know, share of the abundance of love with the people in your life. However, when you're in a toxic relationship, it's all a bit skew. If you are trying, as I said, to get your energy needs met, your love needs met from another human being who is trying to get their love needs met from you, but may not be going about it in a really positive way. But look at some of the signs, some of the things to look at when you're wondering if you're in a bit of a toxic relationship or not. Is, are you being constantly criticized or belittled? Is your partner constantly undermining you? Because that will be eroding your self-esteem, your self-confidence, which also does not support you in actually getting out of that relationship. You start to believe what your partner is saying about you. But if you're listening to me anyway, there's a part of you that probably is starting to think, is this good for me? Is this good for me? So yes, so signs to look out for. Yeah, constant criticism, constant belittling, undermining you. They might be gaslighting you, where you know something is wrong, but the way they make it out to be is that you are wrong and they're fine. But there's something inside of you that feels, so this is where you're being gaslighted. So something inside of you feels something is not quite right with this, but you stay anyway because they make you feel like you are the problem. They make you feel like, no, you're seeing things. It's not true what you're thinking. It's, I'm not doing anything to you. And so you get confused, and it's ultimately emotional manipulation. I remember having a client who had a friend. This wasn't even an intimate partner, who whenever she hung out with this friend, the friend never said anything overtly horrible, but she'd always come away feeling somehow less than, because the friend would say little comments and kind of laugh at her, but not in a way that you could ever pinpoint and say, you are belittling me. And in fact, if you said it, this person would be like, no, you're overreacting. But actually, she wasn't overreacting. So when she talked to me about it, I'd be like, no, honey, you're not overreacting. This person is literally manipulating and gaslighting you. And you need to step away from this relationship if this person is not willing to actually see what they're doing to you. Okay. And sometimes people actually, sometimes the person doing it doesn't even know they're doing it. They are just, it's like when people say things like, and you call yourself a Christian, or when you say no to doing something that the person has asked you to do, and they make it out that you're so selfish and you're bad. How dare you say no? And you start to wonder if you are selfish and you're bad and you're horrible. And because you're in this really clingy relationship with this person, you, for whatever reason, don't feel that you can do anything about it. And so you end up taking on the identity of I'm selfish and I'm bad and I'm wrong and nobody is ever going to want me. So I better just stay here. Again, it's not always so obvious. These things, particularly with toxic relationships, they're subtle. And the problem with being in a toxic relationship for any length of time is that your self-confidence and your ability to trust yourself, your self-trust, has generally taken a beating. So you don't even trust that you know what is best for yourself anymore. And so when these things start to happen, you question yourself as to what am I doing wrong? Why is this happening to me? Maybe I am the person at fault here. Instead of recognizing, no, no, because again, because as I said, your self-trust has taken a beating. So you don't trust yourself anymore. But I'm asking you to start paying attention to what is coming up inside of you again as you lean into the divine more. And this is the starting place for anything you choose to do next. Cultivate a deeper connection with the divine. Start to feel yourself as being loved by the divine. And from that place, start to listen to yourself again. Am I being manipulated here? So if you're always feeling drained and exhausted, okay, so you're feeling emotionally, mentally, physically drained. As I said, when you're around this person, you come away feeling quite drained. So you feel weighed down, you feel depleted. And so you're not able to focus on building a business or building a purpose-driven life because all you can think about is this relationship and the conversations you've had with this person and what did you do wrong, and you're always, you spend a lot of time analyzing, what did I say, what did they, should I have said this, should I not have said this, is it something I did, and that it just takes over your mind. And again, notice that this is happening. Or maybe you're in your relationship, you're having to walk on eggshells all the time. You have to be so careful what you say to this person because you're so anxious that you're going to upset them. You're afraid of what their reaction is going to be, and you don't even know anymore whether you're going to meet a happy person this time or a sad person this time, or are they going to lash out at you, or you're not sure what they're going to say. So you're constantly walking on eggshells. You can't express yourself freely anymore. And even noticing that, you need to see that this is unhealthy. Okay. But until you hear something like this, sometimes you don't even realize that this is happening. This is why I'm bringing it to your attention. Okay. You might even start to feel isolated from your family and friends. And because there's a certain isolation that comes as a result of choosing to step up a level. There's certain isolation that comes from that for sure. But then there's a certain isolation that comes from being isolated by your partner from the people in your life because they will notice if this partner is not being good for you. And your partner doesn't want them to notice and to get you out of their clutches. And so you start to feel isolated, or you start to be isolated by your partner who doesn't want to hang out with your friend, your family anymore, doesn't want you to hang out with your friends anymore, and things like that. Again, start to notice because they might word it as, well, we have to make our relationship a priority. So you don't have time to go and hang out with those friends anymore. You don't have time to spend with your family anymore. Notice when you start to feel as though you're being isolated from everybody you know. Notice also if the people you know start to get worried about you in this particular relationship. Sometimes, okay, the people in your life are crazy, and now that's okay. But again, this comes back down to connecting to the divine and trusting yourself again, so that when you know who is actually for you. Is it the partner or is it your friends and family? Start to notice, okay? Another sign that you can look out for that you're in a toxic relationship is that there's a lot of jealousy, or your partner is trying to control everything that you do all of the time. And they don't want, yeah, again, it comes back to, they don't want you to hang out with anybody. You talk to somebody, or you look at somebody and they're like, oh, how can you, you looked at that person, it must be because you want them and you don't want me, and, blah, 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 and all of that kind of stuff. And it kind of starts to be a little bit crazy. But again, because your confidence has been undermined for so long, you may not even notice anymore. It's time to start noticing again. It's time to start trusting yourself again. Okay. Sharing your goals with your partner, you can't anymore because they don't support anything that you do. In fact, if anything, they dismiss, they mock, they belittle and discourage any kind of business ideas you might have, any kind of changing your life ideas you might have, even like losing weight, for goodness sake. They might have opinions about that and try and belittle you for thinking that you could do that. Instead of empowering you and encouraging you, they try and dissuade you from doing anything. Even in terms of reconnecting with the divine, they make it out to be a bad thing that you're trying to build up your spirituality. And they might even make you feel horrible for trying to be spiritual. Or when I met you, you weren't that spiritual, and now you're talking God all the time, and blah, 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 blah. Sometimes you need to notice when this is really taking you away from ever growing. Okay? Notice. I've mentioned that their moods may be up and down and all of the time, and so again, you're never quite sure who are you going to be connecting with that particular day, and so you're always, as I say, on eggshells. They might blame you for everything. Anything goes wrong and it's always your fault. You spent a little bit of money. Oh, you're overspending. I remember having a client who was actually the breadwinner in her home, and the partner would be, every time she would spend any money on anything, the partner would make her feel horrible for spending the money. Now, this partner was not even working at all, but would make her out to be, you're overspending. How could you? How, look at how you're using the money any old how. This partner was not doing anything to bring any money into the household. But and my client was feeling guilty for spending any of the money that she was bringing into the household. I had to help her gently start to see that there was something wrong with this dynamic. Okay. Because when I'm working with clients where their relationships are quite toxic, it's really practically impossible to then focus on trying to build the life that you're meant for. Because all you can think about is, again, this relationship. Notice if your relationship is taking up all of your brain space and all of your energy. You're always thinking about what you should have said, what they said to you last time, and this and that and the other. And even when you're away from each other, you're worried that they're going to be offended with you about something. And notice, because these are signs that you're in a bit of a toxic situation. Okay, and it's eating up all of your energy. And it's practically impossible, as I say, to live in your purpose when this is happening. And ultimately, notice if you've been in a relationship and you entered that relationship and you were very confident, you were very outgoing, very ready to take on the world, and wanting to make a difference. But now, having been in this relationship for some length of a time, it's crazy. And yes, it feels like a trap. Yes, absolutely. And but now, having been in that relationship for a length of time, now you feel small. You feel like you want to hide away, or you are at work, you have big personality, but when you come home, you are this small person who has to pretend to be less than who you are in order to keep your partner happy. Notice. And this can sometimes happen with people who are very powerful in the workplace, and so to the world they look as if they have it all going on, but when they come home, it's almost like they put their personality at the door and walk in as a little mouse. Or something, or a little, doormat, ultimately. Notice if this is happening to you. These are signs to look out for. And start to check in with yourself. Is this relationship good for me? But remember, as I said at the beginning, this is not just because you listen to one live stream, it's not there. It's not the answer. It's not then you dump everything and run for your life. But no. But it is time for you to start rebuilding trust in yourself as you lean deeper into the divine. Do not do this stuff alone. Okay. And then reach out to me. around this video somewhere is the remove the blocks private session. Reach out to me about that. If you're on Instagram, you're probably going to have to message me about it because I don't think it's in the link in my bio. But reach out to me about that because we can have a one-on-one session, a deep dive, intensive session where we can start to help you break free from a relationship that is keeping you stuck. Because yes, my thing is to support people in thriving and prospering and, making at least 6 figures whilst living in their purpose. But one thing I know, as I've already said, if you are in these really horrible relationships, it's impossible for you to live in your purpose. Impossible, because all of your energy is literally going to trying to either maintain a relationship that really should not be maintained, or it's just overthinking everything, going over everything, meandering, and did I do this? Should I have done that? Should I do it? Well, what did I say to this person? There's just no time or energy for living in your purpose as much as you might want to. And so people come to me because they want to, but when we start coaching together and I'm giving them things to do, and then they're coming back and they're not doing this stuff, and then we start to dig deeper into what's going on. And then we start to see, and then I start to see, honey, there's something about the relationships you're in that are not supporting you. And so that's why I'm doing this, because I want you to see if there are relationship dynamics that are holding you back. Start to notice, because it really does eat at your confidence. It leaves you feeling as though you are always at fault. You start feeling guilty about everything. And the problem with all of that is that you then, because it makes you want to stay in the relationship more, because you start to believe that nobody else can love you better than this person is. Because if you are as bad as they're making you out to be, then who else can love you? And so then you stay hoping that they'll love you better, or that you'll get better and then they'll love you more. It's subtle the way this all works. But people can be trapped in this kind of situation for years. And again, if you're that ambitious spiritual person, sometimes you don't even want to admit that this is happening to you. And so that as well keeps you, because you're ashamed that you allowed this to happen to you. And so then you stay again, because again, you're thinking, well, this is probably as good as it's going to get, so let me just put up with it. No. Or you have come from a religious background that tells you you're never supposed to leave, that you need permission from your spiritual guru, your pastor, or something to leave. And in fact, they'll never give it to you anyway, because the relationship is for life and you're just supposed to put up with it forever. It's time to start questioning some of that kind of dogmatic, rigid ideas, particularly if you are feeling as though you're being eaten alive by being in this relationship, especially if you're that person who is an ambitious person who wants to make a difference, but you felt trapped in this crazy situation for a long time. If you're listening to me right now, then there's a part of you that is waking up to the fact that this isn't right for me. And it's good that you start. And it's good that you start to love on yourself. Start loving on yourself. And start again, leaning into the divine. I cannot emphasize this enough. Leaning into the divine, finding your strength there, allowing yourself to be loved unconditionally, so that you start to notice the counterfeit kind of love. Okay? And then loving yourself so that your inner feminine, your inner child is ready, or it gets strengthened enough to give yourself permission to walk away from a relationship that no longer helps, or at the very least to start asking for what you want. Because the thing about being stuck in a toxic relationship it does rewire your brain in some ways, that you become more confused. You find it really difficult to make decisions, and you become more numb inside of you. And so that again leads to not trusting yourself and abandoning yourself, betraying yourself consistently. And it's time to come back home to you. That's why we sang. That's one of the reasons why we're looking at that affirmation this week. I am home in you. I return to, I return to where? I've forgotten the words of the affirmation now. I am home in you. I am home in you. I return to, I'm at peace in you. I've forgotten the words. Why have I forgotten the words? They keep escaping my brain. Listen to the beginning. Listen to the beginning. I'll be back with it tomorrow. But finding your home in the divine is the answer to most of this stuff, to most of everything, really. Find your answer in the divine. The divine is your true source. Okay. Where there's confusion, where there's indecision, where you're feeling numb. This is why I have a membership called Evolution for ambitious spiritual people who life has really battered you. And usually it's your relationships, the noise, the nonsense, the drama of your relationships. It batters you, it tires you out. And so you come into evolution, you start developing and deepening that connection with the divine. And in deepening that connection with the divine, you start to come back home to yourself again. You can start coming back home to yourself again. That's probably the words. Coming back home to yourself again. Because when you're in a toxic relationship, when you're distributing your energy to the people in your life that are not that are literally draining you, it's like you're spread out. You're spread out. But when you start to return to the divine, when you start to connect deeply with the divine, you start taking your energy back from all of these people. You come back home to yourself. You become whole again. Okay. And then from that strengthened position, you can then make a more solid decision as to, do I want to stay and heal, maybe go to therapy or whatever, or is it time for me to walk away? Okay. But you need, it's like, listen to those signs that I gave you at the beginning. Notice, is this what is happening in my life? Because I understand when you're in that kind of stuck place, it does feel easier just to stay. Because even if it's toxic, it's familiar. You know the saying of the devil you know is sometimes better than the devil you don't. And so people can take that on board and just choose to just stick with the relationship that they're in, rather than deciding, you know what, there's more for me. There's more for me. And demanding more for yourself as well. I understand that it can sometimes feel as if it's easier to stay, but let me remind you, if you don't know yet, there is more for you. The free, fulfilled, financially abundant, love-drenched life is available to you. There's also an unhealthy kind of loyalty that keeps you stuck, not even just with intimate relationships, but even with your extended family relationships, because you might have been brought up on this idea that, blood is thicker than water and blah, 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 blah. And so, whatever your family does, you're supposed to just put up with it because that's love. And that's family. No, please God, no. Please God, no. What that does is ultimately just leave you betraying yourself all of the time. And when you're betraying yourself all of the time, what you're saying to your inner self all of the time is that you are just not worthy of anything. And so that diminishes your sense of self-worth, which then makes you even more susceptible to toxic love. Again, notice where this might be happening to you. Notice where your cultural expectations have. I remember growing up where women particularly might be being beaten by their partners, but they'd report to their parents, to try and come to the elders to tell the elders this is what's happening. The elders will maybe call up their husband, just say, oh, please stop treating our daughter this way, and then send the daughter back home. And people have died as a result of this. But there was a cultural expectation that once you're in this relationship, you're supposed to stay in this relationship forever. And the woman was just supposed to put up with anything. The husband could be sleeping around, the husband could be beating her to death, but she was just expected to put up with it and just carry on. Please, honeys. I don't think anybody still does. Well, I would like, because I'm not in that environment anymore, so I don't see it so much anymore. But I know that it still exists in certain families, certain cultural expectations. It's time for you to break free if that is your cultural expectation, that you're just supposed to put up with anything from some partner just because you're now in a relationship. And again, as I said, it could be a religious thing as well. No, you cannot keep betraying yourself in that way. You cannot keep betraying yourself in that way. The other reason why sometimes people stay in such places is that you think you can fix your partner. You think you're here to save your partner from themselves, especially if you're somebody who got into self-help and you're into spiritual growth. You think, well, now that I know all of this stuff, I'm supposed to help this person get better. I'm supposed to stay with them until they are healed, and I'm supposed to heal them. I cannot walk away from them because I know so much more than they do. I'm supposed to help them. No, you're not. You're not called to save everybody. Okay, you're not called to save everybody. I remember speaking to a client about this just yesterday, actually. You're not called to save everyone. There are specific people that you're here to make a difference for. It's not every single person on the planet. And you cannot change someone who doesn't want to be changed, who doesn't even see that there's an issue, for goodness sake. You may notice that there's an issue, but they may not care to do anything about the issue. So you are literally banging your head against the brick wall, and who will end up damaged? You. So stop this idea of trying to save anyone. You can't fix someone that doesn't want to change anything about their life. You can't change anyone anyway. They have to do their own internal work just the same as you have to do your own. You're not responsible for anybody else, not in the way that you may be thinking that you are. The thing about being us and wanting to make a difference to people and wanting to help people is that you can sometimes get really caught up in mistakenly thinking you're supposed to help every single person. You're not. That is not what you're called to. Okay? It's not. And the problem, the biggest problem with staying stuck in such relationships is it's lost time. You cannot replace your time. And there you are giving your time and your energy to someone who doesn't actually, it doesn't even see the value in it. This is lost time, lost opportunity for you to live in your purpose and build an amazing life. So I exhort you, if what I'm saying here is prompting something inside of you, understand that it is not selfish for you to choose yourself. Okay? It is not selfish for you to choose to be happy, to be wealthy, to be successful, to choose to live in your purpose. It is not selfish for you to leave behind anybody who does not want to come along on the journey with you. It is not selfish. It is not wrong. It is not bad to put yourself or make yourself a priority in your own life. Please, as much as I say, don't immediately just up and leave because your inner child may not be ready for it. But right now, start to develop a deepened connection to the divine. Come into evolution, as I say. But get a copy of my book. I'll tell you about evolution when you're in my community, okay? Come on in. Deepen your connection to the divine. Start to allow the divine to love you from your inside out. And then from that place of strength, make decisions as to, is this relationship really good for me? Do I want to stay here? Do I want to, am I willing to do some, therapy or whatever to fix this? If this person is actually willing to do some work with me, or is it time for me to walk away? But do not do this from a place of just from, oh, wow, Rosemary said this, I'm just going to up and leave. No. Take the time to reconnect deeply with the divine. I am home in you. I return to my source. I'm complete in you. Start to feel complete in the divine. And then from that sense of being complete, decide what you want to do next. Again, let me say, you deserve a love-drenched life. And settling for a love that is literally draining you, love that is draining you, that is not your inheritance. That is not all you can expect out of life. You deserve to be loved, really, truly loved. But sometimes in order to find that real, true love, you have to walk away from untrue love. Okay? Are you willing? I understand that you might feel like there's no other option available to you, but it's not the truth. That is just your diminished self-esteem speaking. It is not the truth of you. There is real love available to you if you will walk away from the fake kind. Okay? Okay, that's enough from me for today. Just some stuff to think about there in terms of relationships. Are you trapped in a horrible, toxic relationship? Is it time for you to walk away? Is it time for you to have a session with me where I support you in removing the blocks to stay to finding something that is more wholesome for you, to living that free, fulfilled, financially abundant, love-drenched life? I can support you. Reach out to me for a private session. I'm doing a special thing on them at the moment. Or get a copy of my book, Remove the Blocks. You'll hear about the special things that I'm doing once you're in my community. Until the next time, my loves, go forth and prosper. Share this with somebody else. Remember, you can't fix anybody, so don't just share it with somebody because you think, oh my God, you need to know and I want you to change. No. Okay. But share anyway. Share with people. Get a copy of the book or ask about a private session with me. Much amazing love. Go forth and prosper. Much love. Ooh, let me just make sure. Yes. Much love, guys. Bye.